The oceans are known for housing some of the largest and most terrifying creatures on the planet. But did you know that some of them don't stay there? Some of these massive monsters venture into rivers, creating a whole new level of fear and surprise. Get ready because we're diving into the 20 biggest river monsters ever caught. Number 20. The Cambodian Monster. As we dive into the first story, I have to make a certain statement about the monsters that I'm going to show you. While they are indeed monsters in a certain context, they are not the kinds that you would find in horror or science fiction movies. In fact, one of the most common misconceptions about creatures that are pulled out of rivers or even wind up on the shores of beaches is that they are something that is not of this world when they really actually are. They just have a rather gross reason for looking the way that they do. And that's why when you hear of an aquatic creature story like something found in Cambodia, there's often an explanation that just hasn't been told yet. As you can see in the video, which is in Cambodia, but was somehow uploaded to a server in Vietnam with comments in Chinese, a lot of people are surrounding the big monster that clearly had people in awe. According to the tale, the monster wasn't just found in the river. It was found in the soil next to one, allegedly. Regardless, it was later quickly confirmed that this monster was just a whale. So, though it does bring up many questions about how the whale got there, like why was it in the soil and how the Cambodian people came across it, that also raises another question of do whales exist in a river? Well, actually, yes. There are many documented cases of this happening, including as recently as 2022 in the Hudson River. While we don't know the true details of this one, the most likely explanation is that the whale had somehow died and then the river or possibly the connected ocean had washed it up there. Depending on the circumstances, it could have been the river or the ocean itself that had put it in the soil. As for how we know that it's a whale, well, the thing is so big they actually needed to put it on a truck in order to get it out. So yes, it may not be a monster. It's just the sad ending to the tale of a whale. Number 19. The Nile Crocodile. I teased this particular species before as it's one of the more aggressive and deadly crocodiles that a human naturally comes up against, but that didn't stop Jeremy Wade from trying to catch one. Or more accurately, he was going after different fish in a certain area, and he kept finding himself bumping into the Nile crocodile. Even Wade knew that by provoking it, especially while underwater, it could become a very dangerous situation indeed. These particular crocodiles can be rather massive, with some of the largest being confirmed at coming in around 6 meters and weighing over 1,000 kilograms. They are the biggest threat to many people in Africa. And yes, it also means that they're bigger and more dangerous than a lion. As an apex predator, they will go after everything within their range so long as they have the proper opportunity to do so. Number 18. The bull shark. Now, you might have thought that I would go the entire list without talking about a shark, but they do reside in waters at times, and the bull shark is one such example of that. For example, one bull shark was found in the United States, discovered in Illinois, 1,100 kilometers away from the ocean, which is kind of pretty far inland really. As for size, the largest bull shark ever recorded was 4 meters long and weighed over 600 kilograms. That's a problem for human beings because bull sharks literally have no time for any of your bull. And if they even feel slightly offended or provoked by something a person does, they will absolutely go at them. They are one of the 3 sharks that are the most likely to attack a human on the regular. And they make up many of the shark attacks every single year. So the lesson to be learned here is that just because you're in a river does not mean there isn't a shark in those waters with you. Number 17. The Sakai Salmon. When you have a look at the Sakai Salmon, you're going to notice it has a very unique color palette. The irony here is that this river monster is one that actually changes its color based on the location that it's in. In this case, it'll be more of a bluish color if it lives in the ocean, or it will turn more red and green when it's in the river water areas. Apparently, it's the water itself that allows it to complete this unique trick. But then again, whatever works, right? Equally as weird is that these are a fish that belong to a special group of animals that die after giving birth. It's kind of grim if you ask me. Number 16. The giant electric eel. Electric eels are really misunderstood due to their superpower. Yes, they have the ability to shock creatures in the water with special organs where they can produce about 860 volts. And yes, if done to a human, it can seriously shock and stun them. However, it is not fatal unless you're an unlucky person or you pass out into the water that you're in with the eel. That all being said, they are large creatures, often getting to over 2 meters in length. And while they won't just shock anything in sight, they are willing to shock just about anything if they happen to feel threatened. So if a person was to accidentally brush up against an electric eel while also wading through a river, a shock could be coming their way. That goes double when you consider that they don't have the best eyesight and are thus more than likely to just do a panic shock because they won't know exactly what's near them at the time. Now it's time for today's topic. In a remote part of the Democratic Republic of Congo, fishermen on Lake Tanganyika made a terrifying discovery that has left scientists and locals stunned. While casting their nets in the early morning, the group accidentally captured a massive, unknown fish unlike anything they had ever seen. Measuring over 12 feet long, the creature had the appearance of a hybrid between an alligator and a fish, with thick, armored scales and a long, tooth-filled snout that looked prehistoric. The fishermen, initially terrified, brought the creature to shore, where it quickly became the talk of the village. Scientists who examined the fish were equally baffled. Early estimates suggest the creature could be over 500 years old, based on its size and the condition of its ancient-looking scales. "This is a living relic," one biologist said. "It's as if this species has been hiding in the depths of the lake for centuries, untouched by evolution." The discovery has sparked fear among locals, with many now avoiding the lake entirely. Some believe the fish could be part of a hidden population of ancient creatures lurking in the lake's depths. While further studies are underway, the mysterious fish has left both scientists and the public questioning what other secrets Lake Tanganyika might be hiding. Number 15. The Green Anaconda. Some of you may not be surprised by the next one. I mean, after all, there are plenty of snakes that reside in the water, including some that truly live in rivers, lakes, and oceans. Then there are things like the Green Anaconda, which is the longest snake in the world, as there have been recorded cases of it getting over 10 meters in length. And yes, they are snakes that don't mind going from land to water and back to land if it means that they'll get a proper meal out of the situation. In the video that you're seeing, some people are going down to a river when a green anaconda decides to go and get close to them. While these snakes are not venomous, they are able to kill people via their massive bodies and they constrict their prey. The people are able to get it away, but you can bet that they were more cautious on the water until they got back to dry land. Number 14. The Giant Queensland Grouper. If you have a look at the Giant Queensland Grouper, you're going to notice that some of them have a really unique color scheme. They're also one of the larger bony fish in the world, as some of them can get well over 2 meters in length. They're even capable of going rather deep into the water despite their size. They're a heavy fish, as they can be 400 kilograms at times. Now, I can see why people would want to catch this river monster based on what's been said about it before. Its size and ability to go deep for a fish of its kind is only made more interesting by the fact that it's a fish that likes to live around reefs. That makes it easily one of the biggest fish in that kind of habitat. However, they don't stay in the reefs themselves outside of the juveniles. Once they get big enough, they will tend to lead a more solitary lifestyle and will live in places like caves, large cracks, and even in shipwrecks where they can lie in wait and be undisturbed. That's a key thing to note. As the Giant Queensland Grouper is an ambush predator, it's going to lash out at anything that it thinks it can get a hold of, and that includes going after things like sea turtles and certain species of shark. It can be rather territorial, as you may have seen in videos of fish like groupers lashing out against those who accidentally come into the habitat areas in which it's in. Now, while you wouldn't want to test their patience, they have been known to reach out to divers that are wandering by, as they're curious about them. And it goes to show you that you can never predict a fish until you study it closely. Number 13. The Lake Trout. For this one, I'm specifically talking about a key lake trout that was caught because this is the world record for the biggest lake trout in the world. The fish was caught by an angler in Colorado, and the moment he took the picture of the fish and started spreading it around, he was getting all kinds of accolades that included articles being written about what he had done. Thankfully, not only did he reveal how he had caught the fish, done to the line and the lure that he used, but he had a video featuring the epic catch. The fish weighed over 33 kilograms, which easily dwarfed what was caught before him. And when you look at the picture and the video of him holding the fish, you get the sense of the scale as to just how big it was compared to the fisherman himself. Another element that has to be considered here is that the lake trout shouldn't have gotten that big in a place like Colorado. All of the experts would tell you that you have to go somewhere else to get that kind of fish. Yet Scott went out, got the fish, and proved everybody wrong. Equally as important, he was really humble about it all. And that's arguably just as cool as the fish that he had caught. Number 12. The Nile Perch. Here we are once again with Jeremy Wade, where he has brought us the Nile Perch. There are many things to talk about with this fish, which includes the fact that it is indeed a big fish, as you can see. However, what may surprise you is actually its intelligence. Over time, a lot of people have caught Nile perches and then released them back into the rivers in which they're found. These fishes eventually got wise, so it's actually rare for someone to catch a Nile perch on a fishing line, as they now know to avoid them. Jeremy Wade was able to do it multiple times, which also shows both his skills and his luck. Another time, Wade witnessed a bodybuilder fisherman, which is a very real thing, struggling for 8 hours to try and pull in a massive Nile perch and only just got it in before things got dark on the river. So yes, these Nile perches are absolutely no joke. Number 11. The Payara. If you ever go to look at a fish and say no, well, the Payara might be the kind of fish for you, because while it is not a piranha, it is related to them and another big tooth species known as the pacu. What separates the Payara from other fish is that it has a massive set of teeth that are basically just fangs. That's what gives it the nickname of vampire fish. And our old friend Jeremy Wade actually caught one of these on the first episode of River Monster. And you could see why he would do that. The good news is that at maximum they tend to be around a meter long, but they are menacing no matter what the size. And yet, for some reason, they're sold to people in aquariums on a daily basis. Number 10. The Giant Sawfish. When you hear the name Giant Sawfish, you may think that it is a bit on the nose for some reason, or it might be a metaphor. But when you look at the picture of this giant sawfish, you're going to realize that it is indeed a fish that has its key characteristic on its nose. It's a fish that has a saw for a nose. And this particular one was said to be about 5 meters in length and weighed about 700 kilograms, which makes for a pretty big fish. Now, if you're wondering how that saw nose works, it uses it to get its prey out of the bottom of the ocean's depths and other places. And there is some debate as to all of the functions that it's for and the purpose that it serves. Number 9. The Giant European Wels Catfish. When you take a look at this catfish, it almost kind of looks like it's fake when you consider the scale difference between the two. How is it that the man is even holding it up on its own? Is it because the river might be helping it out? And yes, this massive beast, which is said to be 127 kilograms, is indeed something that was caught in a river. Specifically, it was the Per River in Italy. But how long was it? Well, about 9 meters, which is a couple of meters bigger than most catfish in the river normally are. Ironically, this actually is not the biggest of its kind of fish to be caught, as there was one that was both a little longer and a dozen or so kilograms heavier. Yet, when you look at this catfish, you just can't help but shake your head. You just have to wonder how a man was able to get it out of the river all by himself. Props to all of you fishermen out there. You are truly dedicated to your craft if you can pull something like this out of a river. Number 8. The Japanese Giant Salamander. I'm going to take a pivot here because not all river monsters are directly fish or things that are like them, such as whales. There are other monsters of the deep, and one of them is the Japanese Giant Salamander. This is a special kind of species just because of its size, as there are only 6 of them in the entire world that can call themselves a giant. With a length of 1 and 1/2 meters, it is much larger than the salamanders you'll find at your local pet store. And when you add that length to the water areas of Japan where it's located, you can see why many would call it a special creature. It is the 3rd largest amphibian in the world, only smaller than its close relatives, the South China Giant Salamander and the Chinese Giant Salamander. It's nice to know that with giant creatures, it's all in the family. What may surprise you about this giant salamander, though, is that while it is large in size, it's technically not that capable. For example, it only lives in waters that are rich in oxygen because it doesn't have any gills. Furthermore, its eyes are not the biggest and its eyesight is poor, and so it has to be in rather clear waters such as streams to even try and hunt and stay away from predators. That's a problem for a different reason, though, as it's another animal that is constantly threatened by humans, leading it to having a vulnerable status in the conservation community. Number 7. The Paddlefish. The paddlefish, much like with the sawfish, is a creature that has a very long protrusion on its nose that looks like a paddle. However, unlike the sawfish, the reason that the paddlefish has such a nose is believed to be because of the electric sensors that lie inside of it. It can use that special nose to sniff out its prey, if you will. These sensors, known as electroreceptors, allow the paddlefish to detect the weak electrical signals emitted by plankton, which make up the majority of its diet. This adaptation is particularly useful in the murky waters of rivers and lakes, where visibility is often poor. Paddlefish are filter feeders, swimming with their mouths wide open to capture plankton and other small organisms as water flows through their gill rakers. They are primarily found in the Mississippi River basin, though their range has significantly decreased due to habitat loss and overfishing. Despite their ancient lineage, paddlefish are highly sensitive to environmental changes, and their populations have been declining in recent years. Conservation efforts, including the establishment of protected areas and hatchery programs, are underway to help preserve this unique species. Interestingly, paddlefish can grow to impressive sizes, with some individuals reaching lengths of up to 7 feet and weighing over 200 pounds. Their smooth, scaleless bodies and distinctive paddle-shaped snouts make them one of the most recognizable freshwater fish in North America. Plus, they are one of the living fossils of the world, as they're said to have been born about 300 million years ago, and their makeup has even gotten them the moniker of primitive fish. Number 6. The Giant Arapima. I just talked about one of the biggest freshwater fish in the world, and now I'm going to talk about the biggest freshwater fish, the Giant Arapima. You may know of this fish from other videos that we've done about the Amazon rainforest and river, as this is one of the crazy creatures you're going to find in its waters. As for their size, though, while the majority of them can be about 2 meters long, the longest recorded one was actually over 3 meters, which makes for a really big fish. And yet, it's not entirely as evolved as you would think. You see, when you think about fish, you likely know that they can breathe underwater. The arapaima actually cannot. It's one that truly requires air from the surface in order to survive. So, it may be in the water for quite a long time and then literally come up for air, which is quite the sight to see. That doesn't mean that it's any less terrifying, though, as it absolutely is. For example, if you were thinking, what does this thing eat? Well, that would be fish, crustaceans, fruits, seeds, insects, and small land animals that walk near the shore. That's right. It's going to use its dependence on surface air to actually get itself a lot more prey. Talk about turning a disadvantage into an advantage. Even with these unique features and sizes, it's still a fish that's also been hunted by humans to the point of being endangered at times. And one of the reasons for this is that its massive size provides a lot of food and people hunt locally to feed themselves and their families. So there are also parts of the arapaima that some believe are valuable for medicinal purposes, and they're not afraid to thin the herd if they feel that they're going to get healed in the long run. Thankfully, conservation efforts are ongoing to help them out, but it also highlights just how basic instincts and beliefs can lead to the wiping out of an animal's population. It makes you wonder who the real monster in the situation is. Number 5. The Giant Barb. This is another fish that shockingly comes from an area near Cambodia, though technically it was caught in the Mekong River that flows through Vietnam. The Giant Barb ranks amongst the largest freshwater fish in the world and is probably the largest fish in its family. As for how big that it can actually get, some of them can reach 3 meters in length and weigh up to 300 kilograms. That's a really big fish. And it's actually been a bad thing for it to be that way. You see, while the giant barb is a respected animal and is the national fish of Cambodia, it's also one of the most endangered animals in the world today. In fact, it's been labeled as critically endangered, which means that if actions are not taken to save its population numbers, it will in fact go extinct. But how did this creature end up on this particular list? Well, sadly, it's a classic tale of human interference. First, humanity has taken away parts of its habitat, which obviously hurts the population number. Then, likely because they are so big, the giant barb has been hunted to near extinction. This would happen for quite a while until a literal royal decree from the head of Cambodia made it clear that the fish were never to be touched. And ever since then, places like Vietnam have been trying to breed the surviving members so that they can boom the population once again. Only time is going to tell whether or not it will work, but we should appreciate them giving the effort, as no animal, not even a river monster, should have to die because of human intervention. Number 4. The 100-year-old sturgeon. Now, I'm going to take another detour here to show you not only a river monster, but an old river monster. You see, people may be obsessed with their own age, but when it comes to animals, they're often surprised at just how old that they can get. When you think about it, we don't actively measure the age of various animals unless they're directly being monitored with things like a tag. Sturgeons, however, are known for their incredible longevity, with some individuals living well over a century. Their slow growth rate and late maturity contribute to their long lifespans, but it also makes them vulnerable to overfishing and habitat destruction. These ancient fish are often referred to as living fossils because they have remained relatively unchanged for millions of years, surviving through dramatic shifts in Earth's ecosystems. The 100-year-old sturgeon caught in British Columbia is a testament to the resilience of this species, as it has likely survived countless environmental changes and human impacts over the decades. Fishermen in the region often work closely with conservationists to ensure that these remarkable creatures are protected, tagging and releasing them to monitor their movements and health. The tagging process provides valuable data that helps scientists understand sturgeon migration patterns, growth rates, and population dynamics. Encounters with such massive, ancient fish are rare and often leave a lasting impression on those lucky enough to witness them. 10 and 1/2 feet, probably 500, maybe 600 pounds. Yet in British Columbia, Canada, a 100-year-old sturgeon was caught, and it was the fisherman who was able to make that distinction. Clearly, they know their fish. This one was over 3 meters in length, and after putting a proper tag onto it, the fish would then be released back into the river. Number 3. The world's largest stingray. Many of you likely know that you shouldn't mess with a stingray. After all, they have stingers that can seriously injure you and even kill you if you're extremely unlucky. However, when you see one at an aquarium or a zoo, you'll tend to notice that they're rather small. But not all of them are like that, as the Mekong River in Cambodia proved in the year 2022. In fact, Cambodia is responsible for a lot of these creatures ending up this way, and you'll see more of them later on in this video. The stingray in question was caught by a man who is a biologist who spent almost 2 decades of his life trying to find the world's largest freshwater fish. It is a choice, but it also shows that he's passionate about his job if nothing else. The ray that he caught would be hauled out of the murky waters of the Mekong River, and it measured in at 4 meters in length. That's definitely bigger than the stingray you're going to find at your local aquarium. At 300 kilograms, it was 7 kilograms heavier than the Mekong giant catfish that was caught in Thailand in 2005. Could you even imagine coming across this ray as you swam in the river? You would honestly think you may have been in the presence of a monster fish or an entity, and it makes you wonder about how long its stinger is. While stingrays as a whole are not the enemies of humans, they usually only attack when provoked. Their stingers are venomous, so if you're not careful, you're going to get stung and you're going to regret it. Just to be clear, this stingray was not propped up for everyone to see that it was caught. The man and others who had caught it took extreme precautions to keep it in a tarp full of water so that they could properly weigh it and measure it. And once it was done, they returned it to the river. Number 2. The Goliath tigerfish. Remember when I said that there are generally 2 types of fishermen? Well, there's a third that is both very real and very niche. Specifically, it's the fishermen who got out to catch things like river monsters so that they could show them to the world. I'm talking about people like Jeremy Wade, who is on that show River Monsters, and he went around the world trying to showcase the various creatures that do live in the oceans that you likely should be glad you never come into contact with. One such episode had him going to the Congo, where he then found a Goliath tigerfish, a fish that is both big and menacing and something that you should be fine never coming into contact with. In fact, it's so scary looking that you might actually feel that it's fake even when it's not. For example, those massive and sharp-looking teeth that it has, well, that's actually by design as it's a predator through and through. The teeth alone can grow up to 2.5 centimeters. And that's not even mentioning the rest of its body, which can be 50 kilograms and 1/2 meter long. Those teeth, just like a piranha's triangular, this is not the kind of fish that you want racing towards you for any kind of reason. In fact, it's actually a special kind of predator with a name that I can't pronounce. And even though I have told the writer of these scripts several times not to do this to me, he continues to do it anyway. Anyway, the fish will feed on any fish that it's able to overpower, including smaller members of its own species. It will go full carnivore if it means getting a proper meal, which is scary, but it does happen in the wild a lot more than you may think. As if the thing was not scary enough, it's also incredibly clever. It will use the calm parts of the river to swim in so that it can then find prey with its razor-sharp eyesight and then race towards them and rip them to pieces with its teeth. And if you need one more reason not to mess with the Goliath tigerfish, the only predator that it has is the Nile crocodile, which is a literal man-eater. Number 1. The giant white sturgeon. You know that you're big when it takes around 2 to 3 people just to hold on to you so that you can be measured. For the giant white sturgeon, that is indeed the case because this is both a long fish and a heavy fish. And it's one that even Jeremy Wade will say is one of the biggest catches that he had ever gotten. The one that he caught was just under 3 meters, but another that was caught in California was actually over 3 meters, weighing 210 kilograms. These prehistoric-looking fish are often referred to as living fossils because their lineage dates back over 200 million years, making them one of the oldest fish species still in existence. They are known for their armored bodies, covered in bony plates called scuts, which provide protection from predators. Despite their massive size, white sturgeons are bottom feeders, primarily consuming small fish, crustaceans, and other organic matter found along riverbeds. They are also anadromous, meaning they migrate between freshwater and saltwater during different stages of their life cycle, which makes them highly adaptable but also vulnerable to habitat disruptions. Overfishing and dam construction have significantly impacted their populations, as these barriers prevent them from reaching their spawning grounds. Conservation efforts, including catch-and-release programs and habitat restoration projects, have been implemented in some regions to help protect this iconic species. In areas where their populations are stable, they are a prized catch for sport fishermen, who often describe the experience of reeling in a giant sturgeon as a once-in-a-lifetime event. However, their slow growth rate and late maturity make them particularly susceptible to overexploitation, emphasizing the need for sustainable fishing practices. The twist with that one is that another giant white sturgeon that was caught and authenticated noted its weight at being over 3 times what the California one was. So, it is both size and mass, which is why many fishermen try to catch it. However, It's also been proven to be a problem for conservationists as their population numbers are fine in some areas like Mexico, while in California, they're said to be rather endangered due to the state of their habitats. Let's just hope that they're going to be able to fix it everywhere in the future. Well, that's all from the world of fishing and the various river monsters that have been caught over the years. Which of these catches amazed or horrified you the most? Maybe you know of another river monster that should be on this list. Let me know in the comments below. Also, check out the other cool things appearing on the screen. I'll see you next time.